What if I told you that one single invention didn't just change science, it completely changed what it even meant to be sick? Today, we're talking about a moment in history when our entire understanding of disease got turned on its head, all because we found a new way to see the world.
So, let's just get right to it. Was the microscope really the one thing, the single biggest breakthrough that changed Renaissance medicine forever? Or was there a little more going on behind the scenes? That's what we're here to figure out.
All right, so let's set the scene. We're talking about the Renaissance, right? Roughly between the 1500s and 1700s. This was a time of unbelievable change when old ideas were getting tossed out the window and you had these huge, fierce debates about science happening all over Europe. And right in the middle of all this change, this scientific revolution, there was one invention that was about to blow everything wide open. I'm talking about a tool that let us see a world that, until then, we had no idea even existed. The microscope, of course.
Okay, things really start to get interesting in the mid-1600s. First up, 1665, you've got this guy Robert Hooke, who publishes a book that just completely blows people's minds. Then, not even 10 years later, Antony van Leeuwenhoek looks through a lens and sees something that would, centuries down the line, become the foundation for germ theory.
So yeah, let's start with Hooke. His book, Micrographia, it was an absolute sensation. It was filled with these incredibly detailed drawings of the microscopic world. He's the one who actually came up with the word cell. And this was huge, because it totally shifted how we thought about disease. We went from these vague ideas to thinking about what was happening at the level of our body's own tiny structures.
All right, and then came a massive leap forward in the tech. This guy, Antony van Leeuwenhoek, a Dutch scientist, he makes this simple-looking single-lens microscope. But wow, it could magnify things 300 times. I mean, that's a power that was just completely unheard of back then. This wasn't just a small step up, it was a total game changer.
And here it is, the big wow moment. Leeuwenhoek takes a look at a single drop of water through his amazing new microscope, and what does he see? Tiny, living things just swimming around. He called them animalcules, like little animals. And just like that, for the first time in history, an entire invisible world was opened up to us.
So you can imagine? This discovery completely threw a wrench in centuries of medical thinking. Forever, basically, people believed sickness came from things like miasma, bad smells or bad air, or from your body's humors being out of balance. But now there was this wild, new idea on the table. What if it's these tiny, invisible living things that are actually making us sick?
Okay, so the microscope is looking like the hero of the story, right? Case closed. But was it really working alone? Or were other things happening that helped set the stage for this huge revolution?
Yeah, because it turns out the microscope's big moment didn't just happen out of nowhere. There was this whole new scientific culture already starting to bubble up, thanks to some other really important people and innovations that were laying all the groundwork.
So let's talk about Andreas Vesalius. This guy was a total trailblazer in anatomy, and his big idea was actually pretty simple, but it was revolutionary for the time. He said, hey, if you want to understand the human body, you have to actually look at it, yourself, directly.
So Vesalius starts doing his own human dissections, and guess what? He proves that Galen, the guy who had been the ultimate authority on medicine for like 1,000 years, was wrong about some really basic stuff. Like Galen said the human jaw was 2 separate bones. Vesalius looked and said, nope, it's 1. But the real impact here was the change in attitude. He created this new spirit in medicine that said, trust what you can see with your own eyes. Trust the evidence. Don't just believe something because it's in an old book.
All right, next up, William Harvey. And just like Vesalius, he was all about that direct observation. But he was more interested in how the body actually worked.
And man, did he discover something incredible. So way back in 1628, and get this, with no microscope, Harvey figured out that the heart isn't some magical organ. It's a pump, and it circulates blood all through the body in one big, closed loop. This was a gigantic leap forward in understanding our own physiology.
So, how did he do it? No fancy tech, just careful dissection and super meticulous experiments. His whole method was the perfect example of this new scientific mindset that was taking hold. Evidence is king. Observation is everything.
Okay, so you have all these amazing, radical new ideas. But how did they get out there? How did they spread so fast? Well, one word, the printing press. You have to remember, this was the great accelerator of the age.
It meant their books could be printed and shared all across Europe, so their discoveries weren't just stuck in one lab. They could light a fire under a whole new generation of scientists.
All right, so we've got the microscope showing us this invisible world. We've got the groundwork of dissection and observation, and we've got the printing press spreading the word. Let's pull all these threads together now and get back to our original question.
And you know what? The final verdict is pretty clear. This massive jump in understanding disease wasn't just because of one thing. It was this powerful combination, this perfect storm of new tools and new ways of thinking all coming together at exactly the right time.
A great way to think about it is like building a fire. The microscope, that was the spark. It was the shocking new discovery that got everything started, the world of microbes. The culture of dissection and evidence-based science from guys like Vesalius and Harvey, that was the fuel. It was a mindset that was ready to burn, ready to accept new proof. And the printing press, that was the oxygen, just fanning the flames and helping that fire of knowledge spread like crazy.
So, to put a fine point on it, was the microscope the primary catalyst? Absolutely. It's what started the whole conversation. But its impact, its revolutionary power, was only possible because it landed in a scientific world that was already learning how to observe and had a technology that could share the news far and wide.
Okay, so as we wrap this up, what are the big things you should walk away with? First, the microscope literally revealed a new reality that was invisible to us. But second, that discovery needed a culture of evidence-based observation to even matter. Third, spreading information is what turns a discovery into a revolution. And finally, it's a great reminder that major breakthroughs are almost never a one-man or one-gadget show.
And that brings us to one last thought to leave you with. Every era seems to have its microscope, some tool or technology that just completely shatters our perception of reality and shows us something new. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What's our microscope today?